We are just 1 week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft live right there in Green Bay at historic Lambeau Field. Tune in live 8 p.m. Eastern next Thursday to find out where the next wave of NFL stars will call home. Hey everybody, welcome to Path to the Draft, presented by Harbor Freight. Patrick Claybon here with a couple of very busy individuals. Bucky Brooks nearing a quarter century of NFL drafts at this point. And ESPN's Field Yates joining us today on Path, fresh off of dropping top 200 prospects. Field, that's a lot of people.
It sure is, yeah, and I'm glad that part of the process is now behind us. We can get to the execution phase after preparing for what feels like an eternity, but it's really been basically 11 and a half months since Mr. Irrelevant was announced back in Detroit last season.
We've come a long way. We got a long way to go. All 200, no, just kidding. Top 10 of Field's prospects for the 2025 NFL Draft. You see there Travis Hunter, his number one overall prospect, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, and then Cam Ward down there at 6, overall prospect-wise, Field. Let's look back a few years at some of these quarterbacks taken near the top of the draft. Where would Cam Ward fall in that list to you?
Yeah, Patrick, we've had a pretty good run. If you look at the last 4 NFL drafts in which a quarterback was taken number 1 overall, pretty strong group. Joe Burrow, followed by Trevor Lawrence, and then more recently Bryce Young, and of course this past season Caleb Williams, part of that 3-headed attack at the top of the 2024 NFL Draft. So the truth is probably 5th out of those 5 quarterbacks based off of where they were being rated going into the draft. Obviously still some question marks amongst that group at the NFL level. That being said, I still feel like Cam Ward is a very justifiable number 1 overall pick when you factor in not just how he plays the game, but also the context of this draft. This is not a draft that is totally stocked with elite quarterback prospects. As a matter of fact, the number of blue chip prospects this year is down compared to where we were just last season. The Titans have really architected their entire offseason around eventually drafting a quarterback, most likely Cam Ward. So given their need and given the ability he brings to the table and the innovative style of his play, I do think it is a very much justifiable number 1 overall selection by Tennessee.
You know, Phil, I agree with you in terms of the number of blue chip players that are in this draft class is significantly less than what we're normally used to seeing. And for that reason, Cam Ward is interesting when you compare him to the traditional number 1 quarterbacks that have gone in this draft class. There's no doubt that he has tools and talent, tenacity, all those things to help a franchise turn it around. And with the Tennessee Titans, he could give them that Steve McNair effect in terms of a rugged leader that's able to do it as a runner and a thrower. The thing about it that you worry about with Cam Ward is in the red zone, can he be a sound decision maker to avoid some of the egregious errors that could pop up on tape? But there's no doubt. Look, this dude has the it factor that you look for. Love the leadership skills. Now it's about putting everything in place so Brian Callahan and company can build this offense and this team around his talents.
Yeah, it's tough to get success out of the spot. You go back 10 years of all the quarterbacks taken number 1 overall. It's just 13 combined playoff wins.
Wow.
10 of those are Joe Burrow and Jared Goff. They got 5 apiece in that category. So let's look at, because we got a whole coalition of mock drafts, all of them collectively have Shedeur Sanders going somewhere in that top 10. Rhett Lewis recently had him going 9 to the Saints as they are pondering how to deal with the shoulder injury for Derek Carr. So what we can do here on Path to the Draft, Field, let's abolish the draft for this particular segment. You get to pick the best fit and landing spot for Shedeur Sanders. Where is that going to be and why?
I'll go with the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21, which I'm sure Shedeur Sanders would not be thrilled about having to wait to get down to number 21. But if the Giants bypass him, I sort of feel like there's 2 next logical landing spots for him, the Saints and then the Steelers. I'm going to kind of flip the question on his head a little bit and note this. Obviously, there's the Aaron Rodgers of it all with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll see how things continue to develop there. But if you are going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, you have 2 gigantic personalities at wide receiver, and DK Metcalf and also George Pickens. You need a quarterback that's going to be able to command the huddle from the jump. And while rookie quarterbacks having complete command of the huddle is a tall task, I do feel like there is a poise and an experience factor to Shedeur Sanders and a little bit of the it factor to him as well that I think these wide receivers would respond well to. Shedeur was the best pocket passer in college college football. Last year, I continue to believe that. He was the only quarterback in the entire FBS last season who, when he wasn't pressured, completed over 80% of his passes. The Steelers have worked hard along that offensive line in recent drafts. If they can protect Shedeur Sanders, they certainly have the wideouts for this to become a much more explosive offense than it was late last season when it basically flatlined during a 5-game losing streak.
You know, Field, I love that pick and the potential fit between Pittsburgh and Shedeur Sanders, not only for the reasons that you talked about with the wide receivers, but also Mike Tomlin. But I got another place, and I'm going to go with the L.A. Rams at 26. And I know for Coach Prime and no one wants Shedeur to necessarily go at the bottom of the first round, but if we're really matching up Shedeur where he would work best, man, why not put him with Sean McVay? When I look at Shedeur Sanders, it reminds me a lot of watching Jared Goff operate. When Jared Goff operates from a clean pocket, he's a dime dropper, much like Shedeur Sanders. And you pointed out all of the things when it comes to accuracy and ball placement. I've heard for years and years on end from all the quarterback gurus, offensive coordinators, and coaches, I want toughness, I want great decision-making, and I want accuracy. Shedeur Sanders checks off all of those boxes, which is why I think he'd be a great fit in L.A. with Sean McVay.
Yeah, interesting that you both chose locations where potentially Shedeur will be sitting and watching a quarterback with a lot of experience in his rookie season. Some teams having to answer these fit questions as well and doing a lot of research in order to determine that as we look back to the New York Giants, who not just having a private workout with Shedeur Sanders in Colorado today. Joe Shane and company have been doing homework on the top quarterbacks for months. This video was from back in Thanksgiving when the Giants attended a Colorado practice ahead of the game against Oklahoma State. Travis Hunter had 3 touchdown catches and an interception in that game, by the way. Joe Shane spoke yesterday about the Heisman winner.
Travis is a unique individual. You know, again, Dave said it at the owners' meetings. You get to watch a lot of plays on him, so he's fun to watch. It's unique that you know, the ball skills, the route ability, and then also the ability to go the other side and play corner. Like, you just don't see that very often. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt the kid. I mean, he's that type of athlete, and he's had that type of production. I mean, it's insane the amount of snaps he played, amount of snaps he plays a game. Doesn't sit down, goes over, gets a drink of water, and gets back out on the field. So he's got that type of athleticism. He's got the right mindset. He's a great kid, so I wouldn't doubt him.
So the Giants doing all that Colorado research, bad news for them. The Browns picking ahead of them at number 2, and Field Yates has them taking Travis Hunter. And Bucky, you've got them taking Shedeur Sanders. So the Giants potentially could miss out on some Colorado prospects. Andrew Berry speaking this morning about Travis Hunter and which position he believes that he will have the most success at.
We wouldn't necessarily put a cap or a governor in terms of like what he could do. We would want to be smart in terms of how we started him out. I think I've mentioned before, we would see his first home as receiver and his second home, on the defense side of the ball. And I'm going to use a crossboard now. It's a little bit like Ohtani, right? Where, when he's playing one side, he's an outstanding player. If he's a pitcher or he's a hitter, he's an outstanding player. You obviously get a unicorn if you use them both ways.
A unicorn such that you have to leave the sport to find a comp that makes sense, Bucky. Recently, you adjusted your wide receiver rankings. Now you have Travis Hunter at number 1 at wide receiver and number 1 at cornerback. But if you have to pick one, which one is it?
Oh, man, it's so tough. I would let him do what he was going to do for the Cleveland Browns. They talk about let him be Shohei Ohtani. Let him play both ways. The thing about Travis Hunter is so unique. He has always done this two-way thing from the time he was in high school. Did it in high school, did it in college. And so that's different from anyone else who's done it in the league because he literally played 100-plus snaps on offense and defense. He won't play as many snaps in the National Football League, so I think he's built for it. This is what we do know. He's a blue-chip player on both sides of the ball. And what smart coaches do, they put the best players on the field, and they put the best players with opportunities to make plays. That's why I think he's going to play both ways. It doesn't matter. He's a blue player. Let him play wherever he wants to play, provided he can stay healthy and he has enough endurance to be able to do it.
Yeah, it would be organizational malpractice to not play Travis Hunter to some degree on both sides of the ball. But if I have to pick just one side in which I think the ceiling is just a little bit higher, I would lean towards wide receiver. I just think the combination of rare playmaking and also an understanding of where he is at all times on the field. If you watch his body control, his run after catch ability, his understanding of how to set up defensive players, and then also where run after catch opportunities lie on a play in and play out basis, he's really one of the most natural playmakers that I've ever seen in my time evaluating football players. So while I think there's a chance he could become a Pro Bowl player on the defensive side of the ball as a corner, I think the upside might be an all-pro wide receiver, which is saying something because we are in something of a golden era of wideouts right now. Just all kinds of talent, which is reflected in these recent contracts that we have seen to the likes of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyreek Hill, and the list continues to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, it's interesting that coming into this draft, the biggest question of the draft appears to be how you use them, and we're not going to know Thursday. We're going to have to wait until whatever team is utilizing Travis Hunter. And again, one of the more difficult player comps in draft history. But sometimes the players just step out and do it for you and make the comp. Sometimes they go on the Players Tribune and write a comp, as the #1 running back prospect, Ashton Jeanty, did this week. He wrote a letter to general managers in the Players Tribune recently, said that while most people watched Saquon's season for the Eagles through the playoffs and thought this is amazing, he watched it and thought that can be me. So the best running back season that we've seen since 1998 in the pros, compared to himself by Ashton Jeanty. So Field, if we're looking at teams that need Ashton Jeanty, it would go all the way across the board. Which team needs him the most?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a team that I think is realistic because he's not going to last that long. So it's got to be near the top of the board, but also a team that I think has a belief internally that they can make a push for the playoffs. And that's the Chicago Bears at number 10. The Bears very optimistic about what they have with Ben Johnson as their new head coach. And, of course, Caleb Williams entering year 2 and looking much more like the player that we saw at the collegiate level. We saw last year Ben Johnson, for the past couple of years, actually, to have sort of a thunder and lightning approach in the backfield with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not saying DeAndre Swift is precisely Jahmyr Gibbs, but you'd have a little bit more of that dynamic in Chicago if you had Ashton Jeanty and DeAndre Swift to work as that 1-2 punch in that backfield. I know we've talked about the depth of this running back class. It is historic. I do think that's the case. I also think, though, that Ashton Jeanty is several cuts above the rest. My number 2 running back is Omarion Hampton, 26 on the big board, which is 22 spots behind Jeanty, who has rare contact balance, power to run through defensive players, and he's also a factor in the passing game. They didn't bother giving him the ball much last year at Boise State because he was running for like 250 a game, but 2 seasons ago, he led all FBS running backs in receiving yards with 567. So no matter what the circumstances are on offense, Ashton Jeanty can not only be on the field, but he's a threat to get the football and make something happen.
I agree with you, Fields. He is a threat every time he gets it. And so the place that I want to put him in, I want to put him with the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1, they're sitting at number 5. And 2, Ashton Jeanty is a top 5 prospect based on the talent. When you look at him, he does everything that you look for at the position. He can run with power. He can run with speed and agility and finesse. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He has big playability, but he also has the competitive toughness and stamina to tote it 30-plus times a game. When we talk about throwback running backs, old school guys that are true workhorses, Ashton Jeanty is one of the few that we've seen in recent years. Because of that, you talk about a running back being a quarterback's best friend. We have seen what a dominant running back can do to an elite-level quarterback. I would love to see what Trevor Lawrence could do if he had a big-time running back behind him to offset some of the pressure on him to carry an offense.
And also Saquon taking some of that pressure off of a fan base that potentially could react to a running back that, well, now after what everybody just saw, probably might feel just a touch different as we look ahead to this 2025 NFL Draft. The countdown is on for the draft, presented by Bud Light. Watch all 7 rounds across 3 days, live April 24th through the 26th with NFL Network draft coverage presented by Verizon. Field Yates will be on ABC for Thursday and Friday's coverage and on ESPN on Saturday. Time for us to acquire the front office view and say good afternoon to our very own Marc Ross as we look into this particular season of draft season, Marc, where there are the occasional smoke screens. I am wondering who you think has done the best job of making sure we know as little as possible about what their plans are.
Well, I don't know little as possible, but we still don't know what they're going to do. And that's, to me, sitting right up at the top at 2 and 3 with the Browns and the Giants. Look, this whole draft season, we've just been assuming the Browns are either going to take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and then the Giants will get the leftovers. We haven't heard them a lot with Shedeur Sanders with the Browns, except for our esteemed Bucky Brooks, who has them taking him in the mock draft. But besides that, there really hasn't been a lot of intrigue with Shedeur to the Browns. And sometimes when teams don't talk about a player or don't put it out in the media sphere about a player they really like, then they end up taking that player. And for the Giants, it's assumed left over at 3. Now with all these workouts coming late into the process, like, oh, are they trying to get even more intrigue? Are they really going to take Shedeur or Jackson Dart? Well, we still don't know, despite the short number of players you're thinking right there at the top that could be picked at 2 and 3 field. It's still a lot of intrigue whether they'll take it. And I know you can dig a lot deeper at some of those other teams.
Yeah, a couple more that come to mind for me. The Jacksonville Jaguars at number 5 and the Jets at number 7, which feels like the Jets regime, since they took over a few months ago, have been very tight-lipped about most things football operation-wise, so I give them credit for that. Does the team need a right tackle? It does. Does it need some defensive reinforcements? It does. Are we certain they're going to take him? No, we're not. As for the Jaguars, they have this new general manager in James Gladstone who comes over from the Los Angeles Rams, and he talked about how he's adopted the Los Angeles Rams strategy of no pre-draft visits, not a lot of pro day appearances from James Gladstone, minimal presence at the combine relative to some other teams. So while everybody on this show knows that sometimes teams will bring players in to create the appearance or actually interested in that player when they're not, the Jaguars haven't shown any hands whatsoever. So while I do think they need to go defense, given all the spots they need reinforcements at on that side of the ball at number 5, you could tell me anything other than quarterback, and I'd probably buy it at number 5 for the Jaguars in 1 week from tonight.
It's going to be great to finally have some answers on what these teams at least did. We'll never know what their plans were, but at least what they actually did on draft night. And we like to bring in talent. Field, thanks for being a part of Path today as we're able to bring you on. And before you go, we want to congratulate one of your colleagues over there at the Worldwide Leader. That is Lee Corso. His final College Game Day show will be during week 1 of the 2025 season. Of course, we celebrate college football. Lee Corso's been one of the biggest parts of college football and its coverage for the past multiple decades.
Yeah, it's been incredible to watch him for the entirety of my college football viewing experience. And, in this era in which you can always catch things on demand, you can open up your phone and check out a social media app and see things after they took place. There was nothing like, or there has been nothing like, waiting until just before the conclusion of College Game Day to see which mascot head Lee Corso was going to put on. Whether you rooted for either of the teams in the game involved or not, that was and has been must-see TV. I know it sure will be during his final show in week 1 of this upcoming college football season. Coach Corso, you're the absolute best, and enjoy retirement. I can't think of somebody more deserving of it after 38 incredible years at ESPN.
Absolutely. What a run. Thanks again, Field. Field Yates spending time with us here on Path to the Draft. Coming up next, Marc Ross' first mock draft dropped today, and he has some insight that no one else has for some of the top prospects. Which team will make a shocking selection 1 week from tonight? We break it all down next on Path to the Draft.
Path to the Draft is presented by Harbor Freight. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Loads it in the back of the end zone. Jump ball for Tyler Warren. Touchdown.
Beulah will throw it. Caught. Touchdown. Wow, what a wrinkle, Tyler Warren.
It's just so difficult playing this beast of a tight end. Tyler Warren. Touchdown.
And the big Zamboni is really dialing it up now for Penn State.
Time for Next Gen Stats, powered by AWS, as we look at the highest tight end production scores since 2019. This also includes some blocking metrics. Brock Bowers and Kyle Pitts over there with a very nice 99 overall. Right behind them at 98 is Tyler Warren, ahead of Trey McBride and TJ Hawkinson. Those Next Gen Stats powered by AWS. But let's look over at Marc Ross's just released mock draft. It's pretty standard in the top 5. Ward, Carter, Hunter, Campbell, and Warren. Then Shedeur Sanders going to the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty to the Jets. Dual backfield there. Mason Graham, Jackson Dart at 9, and Mimbu at number 10. As we get to Who to Watch, presented by Harbor Freight. Marc Ross back with us after this mock draft, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Marc, let's start with Shedeur Sanders going to Las Vegas. Why there, and how does it work?
Well, a lot of times with these drafting, it's not just about the players, it's about relationships. And you have to remember, Pete Carroll in 2012 the Seahawks had a big free agent signing, Matt Flynn from the Packers. Yes, Matt Flynn was a big free agent signing, but that same draft, he drafted Russell Wilson. So there's precedent for this where although they signed Geno Smith or traded for Geno Smith, well, now we still need our quarterback of the future, so let's draft Shedeur Sanders. And also, let's not forget, new minority owner there, Tom Brady, who has this relationship with Shedeur since he was a kid, and there's absolutely no way that Tom Brady is in that building and knowing how close he is to Shedeur, Bucky, and saying, let's just pass on him. He's saying, maybe let's take this guy to help the future of the franchise.
I mean, look, you can't have enough good quarterbacks. And if you have an opportunity where you have a natural succession plan where you have Geno Smith for the next 2 years, then Sanders takes over, that would work perfectly for the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you look at their games are more similar than different. You think about the comeback story that Geno Smith has been and how it happened under Pete Carroll. Man, Pete Carroll would love to have someone that plays the game in a similar fashion. I think this would be terrific for the Raiders to not only have a veteran who knows how to play, but have a young guy that can sit, wait, develop. For so long, Tom Brady's talked about how we're doing a disservice to young quarterbacks by throwing them on the field. This would be his opportunity to make sure that his franchise, or the franchise that he's a minority owner of, they do it the right way.
And the franchise that Tom Brady is a minority owner of, taking Shedeur Sanders there at 6, gives the Jets an opportunity, Mark, to take Ashton Jeanty in your mock draft with Braylon Allen, with Breece Hall already there. Is this just a opportunity to get a player that's too good, or you think there's some positional need there as well?
Yeah, number one, it is the player, but also new head coaches, when they go to a different place, they know how it was at their old place. So with Aaron Glenn and offensive coordinator Tanner Eckstrand, they know how it was in Detroit, and that's to build the line. But also, well, we had this dynamic duo at running back in Gibbs and Montgomery. So now let's try to replicate now with Jeanty and Breece Hall. You know, Breece Hall has shown flashes of explosiveness, but now you have a totally different back who brings a different skill set. And now they can have their own version of that thunder and lightning. And also with Justin Fields in the mix with playing to his strengths of running the football. You got Fields, you got Jeanty, you got Breece Hall. There you go, Bucky. We have to do things the right way, pounding the rock.
Hey, look, I love it, Marc Ross, because when you think about what Aaron Glenn wants to do, he wants to make sure, as a defensive-minded coach, I want to be able to control the game offensively, low risk, run it, pound it, impose our will. Now you talk about Jeanty and Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Justin Fields also adding to the mix. Who wants to deal with that? They're basically running the triple option in New York while you're throwing passes to Garrett Wilson on the outside. You would love to sign up for that. And there has to be a belief, because remember, Aaron Glenn is a product of Bill Parcells and that stuff, that grizzled mentality, tough-minded, want to have a tough team in New York. Well, the way that you exhibit that toughness is to make sure that you can run the ball on any and everybody, and it takes a stable of backs to be able to get that done.
You guys, I'm convinced. I see the vision now. They got the 4 horsemen back there.
Why not?
Just doing it. That's who to watch. Presented by Harbor Freight. You got to watch the football with our hypothetical edition of the 2025 New York Jets. Coming up next, LSU tight end Mason Taylor and his dad, Hall of Fame defensive end Jason Taylor, join us live. It's a family reunion on Path to the Draft right after this on NFL Network.
Jason Taylor up the field on a speed run. What a play.
Shotgun snap, Daniels looking to throw, gets it near side. Mason Taylor, touchdown.
Grossman wants to throw downfield. Intercepted by Jason Taylor. 15, breaks the tackle.
What a play by the Pro Bowl defensive end for the Miami Dolphins.
Tosses it towards the end zone.
Mason Taylor, touchdown.
Guess who? 99 with a sack.
That was some play.
Honored to have the father-son duo. It's Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, and Pro Football Hall of Fame defensive end Jason Taylor spending time with us on Path to the Draft. A unique opportunity, which is just a standard, I guess just Thursday for you, Mason. How is draft prep going, and what are your plans here for the next few days?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Started in January, been in the hometown, so it's been easy for me being here in Fort Lauderdale, training here. It's been a great process, from the Senior Bowl to the Combine to Pro Day. I mean, it's been a great process, enjoying every moment of it and getting ready for these next couple of days.
Jason, how challenging is it for you to watch your son go through this process? What tips and advice have you given him along the way to get him ready for the next level?
Well, I mean, it's been fun, number one. It's been nerve-wracking a little bit. It's obviously more nervous for me now as a spectator than it was as a participant. So I mean, as far as advice, I just tell him enjoy the process. I mean, he's put the work in. He's ready to go. The guy is committed to his craft. I mean, he works at it to the point where you have to force him to take days off or take time off. And he's very dedicated to what he's doing. So really for me, I used to always want to write a book when I was coaching Little League ball that said, shut up and clap for all the parents that were out there. So I just kind of take my own advice now. I just shut up and clap, and I'm always here to support, cheer. I'm his biggest fan in the world, but I also know that this is not on a whim. I mean, this was his plan, and he's been determined to do this for heck over a decade or whatever it is that he's been playing football now. And it's great to see him be able to, see these opportunities and reap the rewards for his hard work.
Well, the big man's given you plenty to clap for in the past few years. Looking all the way back to the freshman season, the breakout touch, the game-winning score against the University of Alabama. Mason, I'm looking back, and I'm wondering in that preparation for your pro career and seeing the success that Brian had and Malik had and Jaden had in their rookie seasons, did that put pressure on you to make you believe, hey, these guys had success, I know them, I know I can be successful?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's definitely just a confidence booster. Seeing them do it, seeing them in practice, seeing how they work hard every single day, and just, it's a blessing to be able to, work with those guys at LSU. So that was a resource, I'll take to the next level. And yeah, it's definitely, I'd say pressure's in everything. Pressure's a privilege, but I think definitely it's an opportunity to, be it for an impact and for an organization just like them, for sure.
Jason, one of the things that we used to do when I was a scout, we would always look in the media guys and see guys who had bloodlines and legacy and those things, because we felt like guys who came from a family of players, they understood the family business. So when we talk about the family business and what Mason has been exposed to through your journey and his uncle's journey, what are some of the lessons that you think he can learn from your path to help him kind of avoid some of the missteps along the way?
Well, he's definitely been down this road. He's seen it from a youngster. I mean, from the time he was born all the way through. And, there's plenty of pictures and moments and videos of him being on the practice field, him being in the locker room, him being at games, him seeing the highs and the lows. I mean, the triumphs of wins, the disappointment and the pain of defeats, obviously all the way through the Hall of Fame ceremony. And so he's seen the work it takes. He's seen the scrutiny you're under, albeit he's now in the social media age a lot more than I was toward the tail end of my career. He's been tried and tested, and he played at a big program down there and had his own ups and downs and things he had to deal with. So none of this stuff will come as surprises to him. He's been around plenty of opportunities. He's been very blessed in his life, as have I, and now it's his turn to kind of take those reins and run with it. But one of the great things about Mace is he's always wanted to blaze his own path. I mean, he played defensive end in Little League for me. As soon as we got to high school, he wanted to make a change and get away from me a little bit and do his own thing and become a tight end. I never questioned his hands. I never questioned his speed. I always knew how tough he was and how big he was going to be. And he went and did it. This is not Mason Taylor is not in this position because his dad is Jason Taylor. Mason Taylor is in this position because he earned it. God blessed him with tremendous talent and ability. And the guy works his you-know-what off.
Mason, I want to ask you this because a lot of conversation to be about your family, but there had to be times when you were looking at NFL games and there were guys that you kind of wanted to pattern your game after. Who are some of the influences on your game at tight end, guys that you look up to?
Yeah, I'd say definitely one that's playing right now is George Kittle. The way he kind of does everything, he's an every down tight end. Same the way that kind of I got used at LSU, just, being that every down player, being that guy in the run game and in the pass game. And, at the end of the day, how George has just fun with the game, how he's always laughing around, making jokes, just enjoying it while, dominating in the run game and the pass game, being that complete tight end that I try to be. So that's someone I definitely look up to.
And we look back, and of course, there's the obvious connections with Dad and your uncle with Miami. We see the pictures of you being being around the franchise. How different was it walking in as a prospect as you meet with the team to be around that team that was such a big part of your life growing up?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I made a joke with my dad when I went there for the visit. I went in the equipment room, and last time I was in the equipment room, I was getting my helmet fitted for Pee Wee. So I've known all those guys for a long time now, so it's definitely surreal, going in there, making them feel old, now being a prospect. But, I mean, it was a great feeling, and it's just a great process all around.
All right, so what are the draft day plans? What are we going to do? How are we going to get some of the nerves out of it? We're going to be at the house. We're going to have a party. What are some of the plans for draft night to try and make the night go quickly? Hopefully you get your name called on the first night.
Yeah, so the first day I'll just be at my house. We'll have the immediate family over and some friends. But the second night we'll be at a little bigger place and have the family and friends and everyone come together. But, excited for it all. Excited to hear my name called and seeing where I'm going to end up to be. So.
And we're going to be excited to see it. And of course, Jason, we're going to be excited to see your reaction as a big part of course, and you said it, Mason has done all the work. But I remember looking back to the Senior Bowl, Mason gave you credit for the tight end decision as well. So don't let him take all the credit, because one thing I remember Mason saying was that you noticed his hands very, very early on.
Yeah, he's always been a natural pass catcher. I mean, you can see it now, and everyone talks about the gauntlet that he ran at the combine, and some of the catches he made over the middle at LSU, and whether it be on the sideline, toe tapping, or coming across, knowing you're going to get a hit from the safety or a linebacker breaking on it. He's always had that natural ability. He's always been a tough kid. He's always been a big kid. But I do remind people, Mason is 20 years old. He's still a young guy. So, I mean, just sitting back and thinking, as being in the chair now as a coach and a recruiter and all that stuff, it's just you think about his potential and where he's going to be in 2 or 3 years. I mean, by the time he's 23, 24 years old, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be crazy. But it's a lot of fun. You talked about the reaction. I'm going to get out in front of it now so I don't get anybody clowning me. All right? I know they're going to beat me up on Twitter. All right? I'm a crier when it comes to my kids. So I'm not gonna lie to either one of y'all. I already teared up once on this interview. That's why when you see me looking up, I'm trying to dry tears. So yes, before you ask me, I'm gonna cry, and everyone can kiss my butt. It is what it is. I'm a crier when it comes to my kids.
Yeah, anybody that judges you, Jason, on that, who cares? Absolutely.
I'll send them my address. They can come see me.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to you, of course, Mason. Good luck coming up. Thanks for spending time with us here on Path to the Draft today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Looking forward to the 2025 NFL Draft C, where LSU tight end Mason Taylor winds up. We got more coming up here on Path to the Draft as we look ahead to one of the fastest players, not just one of, the fastest player in the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. What's the best fit for him? That's coming up next on Path. Welcome back to Path to the Draft, presented by Harbor Freight. Will Johnson, Travis Hunter, Malachi Starks among the defensive backs that will be in the green room for Green Bay in just 7 days. Joining them, Maxwell Hairston, the fastest man at the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine, also in attendance in Green Bay. As we're back here, Patrick Claybon with Bucky Brooks and Marc Ross. Let's game out the idea, the plan for Maxwell Hairston in 2025, Bucky. What does he bring to a team?
Look, he brings so much to a team because he's an explosive athlete who has a tremendous, a refined skill set that you love if you're a defensive coordinator. When you look at him, we can talk about being physical and press, being able to really stonewall guys at the line of scrimmage and play with a nastiness. Then it's about the change of direction, transition quickness. There you see him break on a ball into the flat, takes it for a pick six. And it's the recovery speed. So much of what we talk about at the combine is the straight line speed, but it's the movement skills, the burst, to be able to get back in position to make plays. Time and time again, you see him make these kinds of plays, which is why he is a terrific see ball, get ball defender, because he offers a lot as a guy that can play multiple spots in the back end.
And let's look at some of our mock drafts over on NFL.com. Charles and Rhett have him going to the Buffalo Bills. DJ has him going to the Packers. Marc Ross, you do as well. Why is he the fit and the opportunity for Green Bay?
Well, you're always matching the value versus the need there with the draft. And with the Packers, number one, it's just a gigantic need at corner, the Jair Alexander saga that's going on. But then you look at their corners besides that I don't see really a quality starting corner on their roster right now, a bunch of backups. So you have someone like a Maxwell Hairston who can step in, who I thought even before the combine was the most electric corner that I had scouted. You see that speed and explosiveness show up on tape. So here it is, a guy that you can just match up, go right in there to Green Bay. You know who they got in their division, who they have to compete with. So they need a desperate need for a quality starting corner. Maxwell Hairston, to me, was that player right there in that spot.
And, Mark, I love that you note that was your evaluation pre-combine, because a lot of times guys with these fast times, they'll get tagged as the workout warrior. Not in this situation. Maxwell Hairston will bring something to an NFL team. Speaking of bringing something to draft coverage, an exclusive new series, NFL Media takes you along for the ride with two exceptional prospects, Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel and Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III. Here's a sneak peek as they embark on their draft journey in Destination Green Bay, presented by Toyota.
Gabriel lets it rip. End zone.
The grind, the work, the preparation, that's all the fun part.
Most productive quarterback in FBS history.
Everything I do, I'm just trying to prove I'm the best.
He's going to be electric, and everybody's going to know his name.
Luther Burden III. He's so good with the ball in his hands.
It really hasn't hit me yet, but from being a combine.
Best players in the country by position, one after another.
And you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work, and that's what I've been doing.
Come on, run out. They are interviewing for one of the best jobs in the world.
We're prepping his body for the hardest 4-month period of his life.
Any workout you take for granted, it'll come back to haunt you.
NFL draft is now underway.
This is a night where dreams are made.
This is what I'm built for. Once you get drafted, it's game on.
Check out full episodes of Destination Green Bay presented by Toyota on the NFL's YouTube channel. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe, an incredible athlete, but what's the best landing spot for him to develop as a quarterback? That's next on Path to the Draft. Back here on Path, take a sneak peek at our new content series where Brock Purdy and Daniel Jeremiah break down Shedeur Sanders, all with the help of Toyota. Be sure to check out Going Places, presented by Toyota, on DJ's social accounts like Move the Sticks.
Obviously, the expectations that he's had, throughout his college career, and then taking Colorado to new heights like that, that's not easy.
The knock is a little bit of the arm strength, and then, holding the ball. It took a lot of sacks.
With my experience of playing, if I can show my guys, that I can get hit and then keep going, that just shows a lot about, your leadership and just being able to learn to get the ball out, play within the timing of the offense and concepts. I think those are things that he has and will continue to learn and develop.
No doubt.
Great stuff there, folks. The annual ESPN and NFL Network NFL Draft crossover event continues today. ESPN's Mina Kimes was on the 40s and Free Agents podcast with Greg Rosenthal and Daniel Jeremiah. Here's a sneak peek at tonight's 8 p.m. Eastern show on NFL Network.
He is a phenomenal runner, and we were talking because I love baseball before about baseball, and on baseball they have a skill all the way up to 80. He is an 80 runner. He is in top of the shelf, elite runner. His running trait is, of this entire quarterback class, he's the only quarterback that has a singular trait that's at the very top of the ladder. So that's what I would agree with you wholeheartedly. He's a dynamic runner. Whereas to the point where it's you'll get crucified if you ever talk about players switching positions. But I'm gosh, it is intriguing watching him. Gosh, what if he was playing running back, because he's such a talented runner? Not to, to insult him, but the other component, the vision, the decision making, that it's so troubling, and it's so below the line that it's how early do you make that move there? It's just been not enough evidence. He had a couple games early in the year where you get excited about, but the more the Oklahoma game, I can't get that out of my head.
This might be pertinent to I know we're talking production versus traits, but the thing I find concerning about him as a quarterback is that he's played so much quarterback. Right, at a high level. So, and this is kind of the production versus traits, right? It's a thing that gets thrown into that discussion when you're asking, because I think part of the optimism for Anthony Richardson came from the fact that he had played so little, right? So when you take a guy like this who's been in a, top shelf program, played with the best coaches, and you're seeing some of these issues in terms of at the quarterback position, it gets you a little bit concerned about, okay, yes, there's logic to let's get him in the building and see if we can develop him, but he's already been in some pretty damn good buildings. That said, I think with the running, the thing I want to just say, and you guys are kind of hitting on this, especially when you talk about a potential position change, he is doing the nuanced things with the ball in his hands that it's not just he's big and fast, right? He runs with exceptional vision. He sets up defender. I found his runs in entrancing. So I hear you, Greg, on saying he's fun to watch. I have a lot of skepticism about whether or not he can be a quarterback in the NFL, but, it's all in where you take him.
Regarding all the things that you can measure as we get the Next Gen Stats powered by AWS, the athleticism score is up there with the absolute best combine participants, because DJ did mention the position change talk leading to some things. It did lead to Lamar Jackson deciding, hey, I don't need your combine. Turns out he was right on that. Lamar Jackson, a quarterback. Jalen Milroe would likely say the same thing as we get to Bucky Brooks and Marc Ross. And this Jalen Milroe discussion, Bucky, how do you see things going for Jalen Milroe in 2025?
Look, man, I think Jalen Milroe has an opportunity to be a solid player in this league. And when you look at it, it's like everything. It's fit in scheme. It's where does he go? Does he fit in the scheme that they're going to use to showcase him as a quarterback? What he can do is, look, we can see him do the running game, design quarterback runs, and those things. I think he also can add the play-action passing game to the mix. He is not going to be what we call a pure progression passer, someone that is reading from left to right and 1 to 2 to 3. But if you take what he does as a runner and you build a running game that features that, and you have a complementary vertical passing game, because he can throw the deep ball like no other, there is a way and a path for Jalen Milroe to be a productive starting quarterback in this league. But you got to go all out, making sure that you put him in a position to do the things that he does well. And you don't do those other things on the playbook. Leave those out.
Buck, I love the positivity, my man, but I just, in good conscience, I just can't sell Jalen Milroe as a quality NFL quarterback. And I've been watching him a long time, and unfortunately, just have not seen him improve year after year at Alabama. Almost looks the same as when first started scouting him. And that's what I'd always talk about in our draft meetings. Like, okay, learn from players previously, whether it be good or bad. And we just went through this with the Anthony Richardsons of the world, with the Will Levises of the world, with the Trey Lances of the world. We just went through this the last three or four drafts of guys that were supposed to have upside and weren't really productive players, but we'll get them in a system and make them better. Sometimes quarterbacks are just not made to be NFL quarterbacks, don't have the necessary vision, pocket field, poise, accuracy, etc. So that's my major concerns here with the upside of Jalen Milroe.
And that's the thing. At least some people feel that there are things that can be coached, but the things that cannot be coached.
There's a thing, but it's the NFL where I've seen Tim Boyle play and continue to play in the league.
That is true. Still doing it. Tim Boyle. Shout out to Tim Boyle, by the way. In Georgia, the Falcons shocked the world last year, selecting Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 overall. Can we expect a similar shocking move? We'll have the answers about next week. Next on Path. Today, the NFL announced global country music superstar Brad Paisley will headline the NFL Draft Concert Series presented by Bud Light on Saturday, April 26th. Fans can register now for free access through the NFL One Pass app or at NFL.com/draft access.
There has been a trade involving this 5th pick in the draft. The New Orleans Saints are now on the clock.
Here is the trade. They swap first-round picks, and then Washington gets a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7 this year, and a 1 and a 3 in the year 2000.
With the 5th pick in the draft, the New Orleans Saints select Ricky Williams, running back, University of Texas.
Looking back today in history, the Saints trade their entire draft and 2 picks from the next draft to select Ricky Williams, something we'll always remember. But I want to know, Bucky, what could be a shocking trade that we could see coming up in 7 days that will make us feel similar?
Well, a shocking trade, we've heard about the Cowboys being all in. Jerry Jones has talked about that. Well, let's go all in and trade away everything to get Travis Hunter and bring him to the star. Make him a glitzy and glamorous playmaker. Put him on both sides. Let him do what Deion did back in 96, 97. I think you got to go that way.
All right, Mark?
Well, setting the stage for that, we took Donovan McNabb that year at number 2. Everybody thought we were going to take Ricky. At 4, the Colts took Edgerrin James and set the stage. They're going to revisit history. The Saints are going to trade up to number 2 to take Shedeur Sanders and shock everybody once again.
Wow. That's what we live for, the shocking moments.
Shock and awe.
In a few decades, we could look back at the video of us being shocked, much like Paul Taggy would be electing not to read all the terms because they traded so much. Thanks for watching Path to the Draft. Coming up next on The Insiders, North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton joins the show. We'll see you tomorrow here on Path to the Draft.